you, but if you don't have love, you have absolutely nothing. What we activists and social justice warriors must realize is that love must be the foundation of our efforts, and love must be the source for seeing the larger vision we seek regarding organizing and achieving a fair community. A friend of mine, Joanne Bland of Selma, Alabama, once told me that the efforts that define our victory in the future must be seen as somewhat like putting a puzzle together. Creating a collective vision from a shared vision must be our goal. So environmentalists here on Earth Day, your efforts at saving the planet from neglect and destruction and exploitation is right, it's laudable, but your piece of the puzzle towards our social justice goals is not enough. Peace activists who seek to end military aggression and violence here at home, you're right, but your piece of the puzzle is not big enough. Mothers against drugs and violence in our streets, you are right in seeking answers and finding solutions, but the piece to the puzzle is not big enough. And those who seek change around Faneuil Hall and fighting for reparations in the city of Boston is enough. It's good, but it's not big enough. We must be wise like Joan Bland of Selma, as I conclude, and pull the pieces of the puzzle together. We must gather ourselves in the middle of our divisions and work together. If we are to realize a world where social evils are addressed, we need to collectively endure towards addressing the big picture and work in Boston like never before to see the big picture. We must keep a mosaic.
We are God's hand.
Righting the wrongs together. Finding peace and justice together. Creating larger vision of unity together. Let's find common ground. Victory is assured. Victory is assured. Victory is assured. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're God's hand. We are God's hand.
Thank you, Kevin. And thank you, Kevin, for that incredibly inspirational beginning, as always. And a big thank you to everybody for being here today. Our numbers may be small today, deterred by really bad traffic and really bad parking for people who weren't coming from public transit routes. But thank you to everyone for persisting. And sometimes you have to get out in front. Sometimes you have to get out in front even before people are ready. And we all know the job that the media has been doing in keeping us disinformed about just about everything. Big exception to the media members who are here today. I want to give a shout out to the revolutionists. We are all the media. We must be. Oh, and there's more media. So thank you very much for doing what media has to do, because we can't have an educated population. We can't have a democracy without an educated public, and we can't have an educated public unless the media is doing their job, which is very hard to do nowadays. So thank you to the media who are not being lapdogs to power, but who are being watchdogs to power. And that's what we need. That's what we all are here today. We're not just watchdogs to power. We are the engine of power, of grassroots power. We are the power going forward. And that's really our whole purpose in convening this gathering today. And this gathering is what democracy looks like from across the spectrum of justice, of climate justice, and social justice, and labor justice, and prison justice, and all the forms of justice that we need to be together. Because if you put us together, we are an unstoppable force. They may we have it to start with. We have it, we've got to use it, we're going to use it. I just want to say a few things about what we hope to be advancing today, which is really a coalition across the spectrum of justice and peace, a coalition that can continue working together, because it's usually a game of divide and conquer, which is how they manage to rule us. But we as a people, of course, it is poor and communities of color who get hit first and worst on everything, especially the climate, especially on economic justice, especially on jobs. To the point, one of the points Kevin was making about the struggle for justice here in Boston, I just have to give you one statistic that so sticks in my mind. This came out in a series of articles done by the Boston Globe a few years ago, which showed that the average Caucasian family in the Boston area has a wealth of about $250,000. $250,000 for the average Caucasian family. But the average wealth of the African American family, who's got it? $8. $8 disgusting dollars, because of the incredible debt, the incredible hardships, the incredible disadvantages, from, mortgages to credit card debt to health care debt to especially higher education debt. These are all things that we must fight. As we fight the cause of climate justice, we must fight for all the forms of justice as well as for peace. And I will just say a quick word about that so I don't overstay my time. But we know right now there are such war drums that are beating. It's very hard for people to get a full understanding of what's going on. Those of us who were around just after the Twin Towers and 9/11, we may remember that frenzy for war. We may remember that war for weapons of mass destruction that turned out not to be there. Since that day, we have spent $21 trillion on the military. $21 trillion, our latest budget, is close to $1 trillion when you add up all the hidden pieces of it. It's more than 50% of our discretionary budget. Every time you open a newspaper or your computer, you see that there's another $100-some million that are going to Ukraine. And of course, we have great sympathy and anguish for the suffering of the people, but we must also remember the great suffering of the people in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Iran, in Libya, in Syria, in the many areas around the world where we have been told, don't look. But we must look. We must look up to see the climate storm that is coming, and we must look around to see the human storm that surrounds us. These can only be solved together. All of them are going in the wrong direction. But all of us together create an unstoppable force for peace, for justice, for action. I won't try to say my remarks, which I've completely neglected here. I won't try to say that right now. But in the excitement of the moment, it is so beautiful to see this powerful gathering from across the sectors of society, from across our movements. Because when we join together, when we refuse to play the game of divide and conquer, when we join together across the spectrum of justice and peace, then we are an unstoppable force. Be sure that you connect with us today. You can connect with us through the Mass Peace Action webpage or their website. Let's stay connected. Let's make today a beginning, a new kind of Earth Day, a new kind of day for people, planet, and peace over profit. Together we are unstoppable. Thank you so much. Sign up with Amr right here. Sign up with Amr. If you're not on our mailing list, on our networking, this is the guy. And big thank you to Amr, by the way, for bringing us all together.
Thank you, Jill. Like you said, we're all here building our coalition to grow our power. So real quick, let's chant. The people united will never be divided. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be divided. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be divided. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Jill. Next, I want to call up John Burkhart, who's with Extinction Rebellion. Thanks so much.
Hey, everyone. My name's John Burkhart. I'm with Extinction Rebellion. We are a global civil protest organization. Our aim is to get governments to take more action on the climate and ecological emergency. The most recent IPCC report kind of flew by. It was released the day before Russia invaded Ukraine. Wasn't really in the news, but world scientists reminded us, let us know that we have already committed now to irreversible changes in our climate. We have left it too late for climate mitigation. And they said that we almost have no more time left for adaptation. So what does that mean when we fail to adapt to climate? What happens when we go beyond the limits of what we can adapt to? It means collapse. It means the collapse of fragile political systems. It means mass starvation, and it means war. And now with the war in Ukraine, we're reminded about the threat of nuclear war and what politicians and warmongers by policy calls mutually assured destruction. But by not taking action on the climate and ecological crisis, that is also mutually assured destruction. Whether that happens in the blink of an eye, from the press of a button, or unfolds over several decades. It's the same result. It's a finality. We don't get a second chance. That we have the power to change course. We have all of the technology we need. We have all of the natural solutions we need. What we're lacking is political will. Extinction Rebellion brings a tradition of civil resistance, mass civil resistance, to bring that political will. And we need your help. We need your help as organizers, as teachers, as students, as artists, as engineers, as young and old radical people, as creative and free-thinking individuals, to join us or to help us as allies. And so I'm inviting you all, I know you know about this, we're hosting an event after this rally. We're going to be over at Copley Square at 3:30. It's the Freedom from Fossil Fuels Tour. We're going to be visiting some of the biggest corporate climate criminals who are working right here in the city of Boston. And we're going to have some fun antics along the way. We're going to do die-ins, and we're going to do civil disobedience. And so I'm going to invite you all to that event. It's at 3:30 in Copley Square. And I'd also invite you to join us on our website. The website is XR, which is Extinction Rebellion, xrboston.org, xrboston.org. And you can go on there, you can go on your phone. On the right, there's a menu, click Join Us, and put your name in there, and somebody will contact you and find out how you want to help. So thank you so much. And thank you for all the amazing work that you're doing.
Thank you, John. As Jill was mentioning, this coalition is planning to stay together and do more activities to take advantage of the synergy of all these different groups and issues. And a good way to stay involved with that would be to sign up with Amar over here, get yourself on the Mass Peace Action list, and there are teach-ins and events coming up, and we hope you'll be part of that. Our next speaker is Kimberly Barboza with the Answer Coalition.
little bit. Awesome. So yeah, thank you so much, and thanks to all the amazing speakers we've already had so far. As you said, my name is Kim, and I'm an organizer with the Answer Coalition. That stands for Act Now to Stop War and End Racism. And I want to just start us off with a strong chant because, we got to get the energy started. We're going to have a march later, and that's going to be really awesome. So here we go. System change, not climate change. System change, not climate change. System change. System change. Awesome. Thank you all so much. So today I want to really quickly speak on two very, very important things. The first thing, climate change isn't coming. It's already here. And the brunt of its impact is being felt by poor, working class people of color across the world. The second thing that I want us to really think about is what are the solutions that are currently being offered to tackle the enormity of the crisis that we are facing, and what solutions do we actually need? So today, I imagine most of us here have already read or heard about the dire climate shifts that are already in motion, temperatures, sea levels rising, and weather patterns becoming more extreme. We often hear about the culmination of these events, these weather events, as natural disasters, as inevitable, destructive, and unpredictable. But how natural are these disasters really? Some of us may remember Hurricane Katrina and when it struck New Orleans in 2005. Almost 2,000 people lost their lives, and over 250,000 people lost their homes and livelihoods. For a predominantly Black working class community, virtually no help arrived to restart city services, to assist in resettling, rebuilding the most impacted areas like the lower 9th Ward. Instead, what did the city do? They began privatizing the school system. Prices on surviving properties went up. Public housing was bulldozed by private developers, and over 100,000 people were left to fend for themselves. Insurance companies refused to pay for flood damage, and thousands of people, they lost their FEMA assistance, what little assistance they had just a few years after this crisis. The federal government they promised to pay $100 million in aid, but in the end, only $44 million was spent. And most of that, guess where that went? That went to companies. So many of that money went to companies on no-bid contracts, including one contract that was $576 million to a debris removal company, and they didn't even own a truck to remove debris. And y'all can look that up. I am not making that shit up. That is what happened. Under our current system, when these climate events happen, and they become disasters for the working class, not the rich. The very nature of the system we live under is counter to sustainability and environmentalism. Under capitalism, corporations need to find new markets, produce and increase their profits within an expand or die system. On a planet such as ours with limited resources and really no time left to waste, the questions that we must be asking is why are our resources being used for anything but sustaining and improving our quality of life? What are we doing to face this crisis? We don't got more time, y'all. The time is now. And are the solutions that we have even enough? One solution that I often hear is, ideas that promote individualist actions, such as recycling or becoming a more conscious consumer, so that if we vote with our dollar, we can make the change we want to see. But I think one thing that we need to think about is that while there's nothing wrong in being more conscious about the impacts our choices make, what is the logic driving behind this type of solution? It's putting the blame on us. And did y'all know who spent millions of dollars on a PR campaign to push this idea of a carbon footprint calculator?
The corporation!
That's right. It was British Petroleum, otherwise known as BP, a company that's in the news every other week, right? About oil spills all across the globe. And the fact that they're behind these efforts should tell us everything we need to know. This so-called solution does nothing but deflect the blame on us, the poor and working class people of this country, for conditions we did not create, all while minimizing the scale of this crisis. And this drive for profits, it's required by the capitalist system in order to grow endlessly. And it also leads to an incredible amount of waste. Waste has become such an important issue since the end of World War II, as we've seen with the emergence of, the marketing and consumerist culture that we live in here in the United States. 99% of the products that we buy today are discarded just after 6 months. And what's even worse is that the waste that's actually created in the production of these products are 70 times more greater than the waste that's created by disposing the products themselves. 70 times greater. And the immense scale of this waste only occurs under a system, a capitalist system of production that's only goal is to make profit. And then finally, this is the last point I'm going to hit on, is that we're living in a period of imperialism, which is the highest stage of capitalist development. Under imperialism, the entire global economy is carved into different spheres of influence. And there's a constant tendency towards war, because the only way for a country and its economy to expand is to encroach its territory onto other markets and other places. War is a natural consequence of this capitalist logic, that they need to conquer new markets and resources. And it's not a policy choice that a government can choose to adopt or not. An endless war, as we know, and as other speakers have already said, leads to an incredible, immense loss of life. And not just human life, we're talking about ecological life. Think about when bombs are dropped, what that does to the ground, to the soil. Those aren't changes that can be easily reversed, right? And the U.S. Pentagon is one of the world's largest unregulated polluters, and it's provided an endless amount of funds. Think about the most recent budget that was passed, against this, war in Ukraine. We're talking billions of dollars when we couldn't even, spend money on supporting people right here. What about the war on Black America here in the U.S.? Where's the money to fund that? So I think, we need to really start thinking urgently and quickly on this question. So these examples should all show us that the wealthy will only tend to their own interests, even in times of dire emergency like what we're facing right now. This is a climate emergency. And what we need is collective action and system change, not climate change. We need to target the real culprits of the climate crisis, the corporations that degrade the environment and that benefit their shareholders, and the capitalist governments that are beholden to them. What we need now more than ever is organization, and to build this fight back movement that understands that capitalism is incapable of solving this crisis because it is the crisis. For the planet and for the people to live, capitalism and imperialism must die. So I'll end us off. Give a big round of applause to that. Those things have to go. So I'll end us all with the chant that we started with. We need system change, not climate change. 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 Thank y'all.
Thank you so much, Kim. I'm excited now to bring up Peter Crawley, who sits on the Cambridge Climate Protection Committee and is a member of Save the Pine Barrens.
Hi, everybody. What an amazing day to celebrate the Earth. Or as the indigenous folks in South America say, Pachamama, we want to say gracias, Pachamama, for this incredible place we call home. And we promise we're going to work hard to try to preserve it and save it and protect it. So that's why we're here. Yeah, my name is Peter Crawley, and I'm here to tell you about a grassroots movement, because that's what we need. We cannot rely on our governments, we cannot rely on our corporations to do the hard work and to do the honest work of protecting species and organisms that don't have a voice. Who's going to speak for the trees? Who's going to speak for the animals? They have rights just like we do. And if we don't speak up for them, no one will. They'll just be another item to be extracted from this incredible resource-rich planet we were given. And so that's why we need to organize. That's why we need, in the words of Paul Hawken, to create a real blessed unrest of groups, grassroots groups coming together on 1,000 points of light to make a difference. And I'm going to tell you about one local point of light here in the Boston area, and that's called Save the Pine Barrens. Save the Pine Barrens was formed out of the horror of seeing hundreds of acres of supposedly cranberry agricultural land be stripped of trees, be mined of all its sand, mostly to be sold to fracking companies because they use this very fine silica sand from the Cape Cod area to blast for more natural gas. So as John Muir said, you pull one thread and it's connected to everything else. So that's what being grassroots and engaged means. It may feel small, but it's connected to everything else. So let me tell you a little about the Pine Barrens, Save the Pine Barrens. And please go to savethepinebarrens.org. You can become a member. You can join some of our actions. You can get templates to write your representatives. You can get tools to use your social media connections, and just do as much as you can as an individual and part of this grassroots group. So you may not know it, but in the Plymouth County is something called the Sole Source Aquifer. This is the biggest aquifer and underground aquifer and water supply for 7 towns in Massachusetts. It is under siege by stripping all the trees, mining the sand, and therefore removing all the filtration from any industrial pollutants that end up in the aquifer. So let me ask you, how do you value clean water? Can you put a price on that?
Water is life.
Water is life. How about clean air? How long can you go without breathing, without oxygen? So what creates oxygen in the air? Trees. Trees. Can we continue to chop down trees and pollute our aquifers and think that we have a chance of surviving as a species independent of all these other species? No, of course not. So the point is, there's nothing too small to protect, and as Tip O'Neill said, all politics are local, and so I would really encourage you to please speak to Lyndon here and Craig here, who have brochures for Save the Pine Barrens and a moratorium petition that we are asking you to sign. The petition addresses the fact that our tax dollars at the state level are being used to incentivize industrial-sized solar farms that are denuding and mining hundreds of acres of old-growth pine barrens. The Pine Barrens, if you don't know, is a rare ecosystem found in only 3 places on the planet. And it supports a certain ecosystem that has a lot of endangered species in it. Some turtles, some plants, and so when you tear it up, you're touching the whole cycle of the biome, and none of it is dispensable. So again, I really want to thank everybody for being here. Indeed, these grassroots movements, this is what democracy looks like. And please do sign our petition for a moratorium. And I want to mention one other wall of shame candidate, and that is AD Makepeace. They are the largest landowner in the state of Massachusetts. They are the largest cranberry producer in the world, and they own upwards of 6,500 acres of land in Massachusetts and Rhode Island that they are shifting from being a cranberry farmer to a sand mining company. They have a subsidiary that does that, and they make far more money selling the sand and renting the land to industrial solar than to create cranberry bogs. Matter of fact, they get agricultural subsidies and protections, and then they get solar subsidies and protections, and they've only built cranberry bogs on 11% of the land that they've petitioned for all the mining and stripping. So if you see or hear an opportunity to voice your discontent with AD Makepeace, please do it. So I want to go back to the chant of the people united cannot be defeated. The people united cannot be defeated. The people united cannot be defeated. So stick together. We're grassroots, we're tight, and we're one of the 1,000 points of light. And thank you all for all you do.
Thanks so much, Peter. Like you said, the Pine Barrens are under attack, and their grassroots group is building power to take them back. And if you're interested in joining that group, you can find Peter or Craig. They've got flyers. And I want to lead us in a chant now. When the land we love is under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back. When the water we drink is under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back. When the air we breathe is under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back. What do? Stand up, fight back. What do? Stand up, fight back. Awesome, thanks everyone. And if you want to gather in a little closer, we're going to call the band up and Jenny to sing a song. It'd be great to have us all in community if you feel comfortable.
Thank you all for being here. And all the organization, Massachusetts Peace Action, and everybody else, all the climate action or groups, and everybody. We need each other. This is a true coalition building. And we're going to sing together, Keep Your Eyes on the Prize. But before we do, I will just demonstrate that I'm a living coalition builder. I stand with the Poor People's Campaign, a coalition building organization in itself. Please join us on June 18th, when it's a moral march on Washington, where all the interconnected injustices will be addressed. And look, here's another organization sponsoring today's event, HERO, which stands for Healing, Empathy, Redemption, Oasis. We organize nature healing walks, and we also advocate to make nature prescriptive. We need to connect with each other, and we need to connect with Mother Nature. And that's going to be very efficient in our wish to protect her and protect each other. And as the founder of this organization, Judith Foster, who couldn't be here today, as she would have said, there is no one size fit all to our problems, to our various invisible wounds. But Mother Nature fits everybody. And just like the trees search each other right under here, there are roots stretching for miles and miles to get connected. So we are connected. And we need to have fun if we are going to last in the long haul. So that's why we're singing, that's why we're chanting, that's why we have lots of art in this movement. We have the lovely Babam Street Orchestra, and people can join them. If you want to be part of a street orchestra, search and join with Babam. This very Sunday, Poor People's Campaign, we're going to have a justice jam to get to just gather, sing together, and have fun, and get to eyes on the prize. Hold on. Let's learn it together. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. One more time. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. We are gathered here today because we believe there is another way. Sing along. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. To climate action we must haste, and we've got no time to waste. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Sing along. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. While far apart we feel so near, and we are not giving in to fear. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. In the midst of struggle and strife, we see a glimpse of a different life. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. And I forgot to say something important. If you want to fill in this petition to make nature prescriptive, not instead of other medicine, but together in combinations. If other countries can do this, why can't we? And it's a matter of accessing nature that we all have a right to. And Estelle here in the blue hat and Flora, they have it. So you can just get up to them. We need to work for all it's worth to protect our Mother Earth. Keep on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. And in so doing, there's no doubt, injustice must be ruled out. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Sing along. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Yeah. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. And this is important. We need a shift of priority to reach a moral prosperity. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. And these demands are far from new, but still they're ringing oh so true. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Sing along. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. To our leaders, use all your might. It's your duty to do what's right. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. And to you and me, it is our call to make the changes big and small. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on, sing along. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. One last time. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Keep your eyes. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Forward together, not one step back. Forward together, not one step back. Forward together, not one step back. Hey!
Thank you, Jenny. All right, now I'm calling up Susan, my co-MC, who's an organizer with the Assange Defense.
Hi. So I've been working with Assange, Boston area Assange Defense for a couple of years now, and we are trying to free Julian Assange. As probably most of you know, he is the founder of WikiLeaks. He has been in incarceration for 10 years, 7 years in the Ecuadorian embassy and 3 years doing hard time in Belmarsh prison with murderers and rapists. And his big crime is telling us the truth about U.S. war crimes that were classified. He told us about war crimes that the U.S. soldiers and officers did in Iraq and Afghanistan and Guantanamo, and he exposed a lot of embarrassing diplomatic cables. So the U.S. is trying to extradite him from the U.K. and wants to put him on trial using the Espionage Act. He's a spy. How can you be a traitor to a country you're not even a citizen of? But anyhow, they want to put him in jail for 175 years for telling the truth. So we don't think that's right. I'm sure you guys don't think that's right either. If you want to be on our mailing list and hear about our rallies, please come see me. I'll put you on the list. Our next rally is Monday, the 25th, at 1 o'clock in Kendall Square, Cambridge, right near the British consulate at 1 Broadway. We're going to meet in Galaxy Park across the street from the consulate and then march to the British consulate and demand that they not extradite Julian Assange. Meanwhile, we're writing to Biden and Merrick Garland to drop the charges. This is so insane. President Obama, for all his faults, at least did not think he could prosecute Julian Assange. But Trump came in and said, no problem, let's get him. So instead of Biden going back to the Obama policy, he just went right ahead and carried out the prosecution. So they are trying to get him. And this will do terrible things for investigative journalism, for our right to free speech, and it's just so wrong. This is a guy who said, if wars can be started by lies, peace can be started by truth. And he laid his life on the line, and he stuck his neck out, and he is paying dearly for trying to make that happen. So please, free Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange. Thank you. I have a few extra Julian Assange signs up here if anyone would like to wear one. Okay. Our next speaker is Sabrina Salvati. She's a member of the Revolutionary Blackout Network and the host of Savvy Sab's podcast.
Yes, Sabrina!
Yeah.
short here, but here I go. First and foremost, I want to thank Massachusetts Peace Action for hosting this event. I'm Sabrina Salvati. I'm the host of Savvy Sab's podcast and the co-host of Revolutionary Blackout Network. As a political commentator, I, like several others, constantly battle censorship. I have to be careful about what I say. Sometimes I have to use code words that luckily my audience know what I'm talking about when I use those words. So I wanted to discuss freedom of speech and freedom of press. Over the past few months, I've seen journalists and commentators censored on many platforms. All of them independent journalists, of course. Some of them have lost years of their work on YouTube and Spotify. You may know some of them. Chris Hedges, Abby Martin, Lee Camp, Tara Reid. All of them have had their work erased because they revealed the truth about the U.S. imperialism, regime change, and these ongoing wars abroad. Independent journalists, we are at risk of losing our voice because we do not repeat the lies fed to Americans from networks such as CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News. Although independent media has increased, our numbers are relatively small when compared to mainstream media. These media outlets control the narrative. And oftentimes, that narrative is false, and oftentimes, that narrative leaves out important information. While they continue to bombard airwaves with Russia and Ukraine, they remain silent about attacks in Somalia and Yemen.
That's right.
They make excuses for economic warfare to make Americans feel better about children starving in Afghanistan because of the sanctions imposed by the U.S. government. They preach a pro-war message that I feel is incredibly dangerous because it gives Americans the idea that the United States government are the good guys and the countries abroad are the enemy. And that's where my job comes in. Independent journalists and commentators, we are here to fill in the gaps that CNN leaves out. We are here to correct the lies and reveal the truth. But we cannot continue to do our job if censorship persists on many of these tech platforms. Big tech and U.S. government is trying to silence us. When I think about Julian Assange, I'm reminded of just how far our government will go to silence us. Julian is being tortured for revealing the truth about U.S. war crimes. This is why freedom of truth, freedom of press, freedom of speech are so incredibly important. If it were not for independent journalists, would we know about the truth about the chemical attacks in Syria? If it wasn't for independent journalists, would we know the truth about the war in Iraq? If it wasn't for independent journalists, would we know that the George Floyd protests continued even though mainstream media stopped covering it?
That's right.
You don't have to agree or like what we have to say, but that's okay. because you also have the choice not to watch or not to listen to us. But we should have the right to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to hear from Sebastian from the Jericho movement.
Hey, welcome and happy Earth Day to everyone here. It's great to see a bunch of people out here on this great Earth Day. So, we're from the Boston branch of the National Jericho Network, and we've come to spread solidarity with the other groups who are here and to show the connection between the political prisoners we support and the environment. Right now across the U.S., there are dozens of political prisoners who are sitting in jail for standing up to oppression. Many have explicitly stood up for the land and the climate as well. One of the sayings among the social movements from which they emerged is "free the land," and we take that seriously. The United States is one of the main beneficiaries of fossil fuel and perpetuates a global corporate kleptocracy through violence while claiming itself to be the land of the free. It claims we have no political prisoners or prisoners of war in our country and constantly decries human rights abuses and aggression elsewhere. But we recognize the reality of this situation. In the richest country on earth, the largest public housing projects are its prisons. While the surest way to have health insurance and go to college is to sign up to kill others in the name of freedom. One of the longest held political prisoners is Leonard Peltier, who stood up to repression and extortion from the U.S. government on Lakota territory in the 1970s at the occupation of Wounded Knee. The tribal government and FBI were complicit in murdering and silencing Native people and refused to do even basic investigations on them, while they were allowing multinational corporations to mine and plunder the sacred Black Hills, while cutting the community entirely out of the process. Leonard Peltier has been incarcerated since 1976, despite countless pleas for his release by Nelson Mandela and Mother Teresa and others. The U.S. has a long history of destroying indigenous cultures, which already have centuries of tradition around living in harmony with the environment, to replace those traditions with greed, apathy, and violence. This tradition of violence towards indigenous people has still been ongoing, with the mass arrests surrounding the current Dakota Access Pipeline protests across Lakota and federal territory, and the Line 3 protests, which led to over 1,000 protesters being arrested while the government ignored the pleas of the communities who were to be affected. While there are tribes who still don't have access to clean water infrastructure, we have money to send guns halfway across the planet and oil pipelines across the street from poverty. There are countless more political prisoners like Mutulu Shakur, Mumia Abu-Jamal, Sundiata Acoli, Ed Poindexter, Joy Powell, and Eric King, with dozens of others who have collectively spent centuries in U.S. jail systems. On October 25th, the International Spirit of Mandela Tribunal, along with several other organizations, found the United States guilty of genocide against indigenous, black, and brown people since its inception. The Spirit of Mandela is also organizing a People Senate across the U.S. across organizational lines to create real democracy. If we are to find justice for the earth, we must find justice for those who have stood up for the earth and their own rights on it. If we cannot respect the rights of people, if we cannot live together without repression and exploitation, then we will find no solution to this crisis. This society is deeply harmed through its basis in colonialism and white supremacy and its alienation from nature. This toxicity reaches all the way down to the core of our society and our government, and without rectifying this, there will be no way to find peace and harmony with the earth. The highly individualistic and materialist worldview that we are fed allows us to dehumanize others, to remove consequences from our actions, and remove culpability from those in charge, while making resistance a crime at the same time. Make no mistake, our Earth is being attacked, and those who are destroying our planet will not face justice from our system. This system would rather hunt down those who are standing up to greed and destruction and give them a prison cell for their activism. We must recognize those who are in prison for fighting for and speaking about justice. Of course, there are countless more just in this country that we cannot name right now. But if we cannot remember and fight for the freedom of those who have fought for our freedom, do we deserve freedom at all? In the words of the late Sophia Bukhari, one of the founders of Jericho, it is impossible to speak of a movement for liberation without liberating those who have been incarcerated as a part of that freedom struggle. We must open the gates and chains of our society to move forward. We will never be able to live in harmony with our environment if we cannot live in harmony with each other. What's the call? Free 'em all! What's the call? Free 'em all! What's the call? Free 'em all! Free the land and all power to the people. Thank you.
Thanks so much to the Jericho movement for being here. Now I'm going to call up Lady Lawrence, who's an organizer with the Poor People's Campaign and the group Housing Equals Hell.
Hi, I'm here with the Poor People's Campaign and from Housing Equals Health. All of us here are fighting the same fight. All of us here are fighting the same fight. It really comes down to this. As each of us is fighting, we're fighting on different fronts. And as it's been said earlier, we need to fight together. Right now, rents and food prices have been increasing very rapidly. Evictions are up. Unhoused people are up. And with the war, that's begun much worse. Our government's response, more bombs, and not protecting people at home or abroad. People get hurt in war, but the ones who bear the brunt are poor. And that's on three sides. Those invaded, those invading, and the rest of us. We're hoping that you will come and speak nationally because your fight is our fight and our fight is yours. So please come to DC on June 18th and speak up. The Poor People's Campaign is everybody in, nobody out. There are no cost, low cost bus tickets. This is not about dollars, it's about people. So anybody who wants to can show up, stand up, and speak up. Maureen over there has flyers, and you can Google Poor People's Campaign June 18th for Massachusetts. We're all in this together. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is JD from the Party for Socialism and Liberation. One thing we wanted to mention, we would love it if you would support the vendors here. We're kind of invading their territory a little bit. And Dan is serving lunch over here, so take advantage of all the opportunities in this little part of town right now.
All right. So, peace, everybody. How we doing? All right, I dig it. So, my name is JD, all right? I'm a member of the Party for Socialism and Liberation, and if you don't know, we are a socialist party that believes that the crises we see all around us, poverty, sickness, homelessness, war, climate change, and protecting life on this planet cannot be solved without fundamental change. Now, when I say fundamental change, I don't mean just voting for this or that politician who makes good-sounding promises that they don't plan on delivering, just like Biden and many of or all of his predecessors have done. I mean a revolution, meaning a complete change of the social, political, and economic order. Now, as we celebrate the beauty, the diversity, the life-sustaining qualities of our planet on this Earth Day, we must also recognize the dire future that awaits us under the status quo. It is absolutely clear that climate change threatens the very survival of human civilization. Yet, politicians in the United States, the self-proclaimed leaders of the world, who preside over its largest source of emissions per capita, remain at a standstill. The world scientists have come to a consensus that the Earth can only handle 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming before total climate catastrophe begins. And thanks to Wall Street financiers, fossil fuel lobbyists, and their friends in government, the world has already surpassed 1.1 degrees Celsius of warming and is now on track for around 3 degrees Celsius of warming by the end of the century, unless there is drastic change. Now, unfettered fossil fuel usage and the drive for profit have already done significant damage. Each passing summer reliably brings record-breaking heat. Wildfires globally are increasing in frequency and severity, with fires now occurring year-round. Tornadoes, floods, rising sea levels continue to devastate lives and collapse essential infrastructure worldwide. Biodiversity loss is increasing due to rising temperatures as well as ongoing ecosystem destruction at the hands of capitalist industry. And in the wake of these catastrophes, the U.S. government's response